I understand in a lot of cases one may try and blame themselves as a means of maybe trying to understand why this happened. Please remember, it was not your fault. It never will be your fault. Oh, you're making me emotional. So today, we're starting with the hat on. And before we go any further, I do quickly want to just show off something. I've got to find the button. It's up there. Apparently this hat turns on. Oh, look at that. Disco. Party on the head. Honestly, I'm wearing this to the gym. Today's going to be quite an interesting video, and it's going to be quite a different video for a few reasons, and reasons that you may not necessarily be expecting. The person in question today is actually a man, which I know is a rarity on the channel. He's known as the Glute Guy, and obviously that's Bret Contreras. He has kind of built his brand and built his name by being the known figure when it comes to the development of the glutes or glute training, predominantly based on what I've seen from his videos in women. He produces a lot of content on Instagram. I know he features in YouTube for collaborations and stuff, and he also releases a few programs. For example, this is one of his programs, which is Grow Your Glutes Without Growing Your Legs, and it was very popular when it came out in 2019, so a couple of years ago. At the time, I think still to this day actually, there's a lot of like a marketing shift towards like, oh, how to grow your glutes without growing your legs. At the end of the day, it's obviously your body, and you must do what's best for you, and you must do what you want for your body, because it is yours, and no one has a say over your body other than you. But I always found like the whole grow your glutes while growing your legs movement to be quite an odd one. He didn't really promote balance, and obviously I'm a big fan of finding balance in life. But nonetheless, he produced his program to appeal to those who were desiring growing their glutes more so, or rather than their legs, being like obviously the quads and the hamstrings and whatnot. Regarding glute development and how to train the glutes, I think his knowledge is pretty solid. Granted, I don't agree with everything, but I'm not actually going to get into that because that's not really the whole point of this video specifically. He does speak about progressive overload, talk about bumping things up gradually over time, 5 pounds here, maybe another rep there, which is obviously what I preach, which is obviously just add a little bit as often as you can, be that a rep, be that a bit of weight, wherever it may be. To be honest, a lot of his stuff is pretty good, pretty informative, pretty science-based, which we love to see. A few things that I'm not really a big fan of front raises personally, I think, unless you're bodybuilding perhaps. And there are a few other movements I don't necessarily agree with, but unfortunately the program isn't really the main point of this video. I think this video is probably taking a slightly different turn than usual videos. Because of that, I think it's not appropriate to wear the headwear for the rest of the video, so I will be removing it. I think it's appropriate for me to place a trigger warning out there, as some of the topics are quite sensitive, as they cover things such as sexual, emotional and relationship abuse. So if you would rather not continue, please don't feel pressure to watch or continue. Do what's best for you. And I'm going to throw another thing out there, which is a disclaimer. None of what I'm going to say throughout this video is based on fact. It is merely an opinion, and that's my opinion. And this opinion is based on what's been circulating online. Nothing has gone to court, nothing has been proven, especially due to the nature of the video. I feel like those who have been victim to these alleged acts should be heard and should have their story told, and hopefully me doing so and maybe expanding on it or elaborating or maybe giving my perspective on it does help get the word out there. But again, as I said, it's not fact, it is merely an opinion, and all accusations should be investigated by the relevant authorities. And I wasn't aware of this until research surrounding Bret actually began, in which a few things did start surfacing. At the end of the day, like I said, this is merely my opinion, and you must form your own opinion based on your knowledge and what you come to identify, things along those lines. And obviously, if you aren't aware, the majority of my audience are women, and that is something I'm very proud of. And obviously, being a man who has a woman dominant audience is quite rare, but it's something that I deem to be a privilege in my eyes. And I feel like there is an element of responsibility to protect my audience when things like this do arise, because although these may not impact me personally, these issues and allegations may have impacted some of you. So we're going to talk about a few things, and this is one of Bret's articles he wrote, which is 120 tips on strength training for women, which I believe has since been deleted. Some of these points are pretty solid, but there are a few points which I deem to be a bit inappropriate. Certain female sexual positions might contribute to women possessing good hip mobility and pelvic control. Personally, I don't think that's relevant, nor do I think it's appropriate. On average, women are not as consistent as men at keeping training logs. Is there any evidence behind this? I would like to see some research. I don't think it's necessarily isolated to the gender, I think that's more isolated to the person. If you're not one that actively tracks a lot of what you do, regardless of gender identity, I don't think you're going to track what you're doing. Women prefer variety with training. Put a man in a garage with a pair of squat stands and a barbell loaded with bumper plates and he'd be accepting, whereas a woman would sorely miss her kettlebells, suspension system and elastic bands. Citation needed. Where's the evidence actually backing this? This is merely based on assumption and opinion rather than fact. And I feel like it's quite dangerous and potentially could be perceived as quite sexist to put this information out there. Women do not tend to care as much about science and research. Anecdotes are often sufficient for evidence. Where is the evidence supporting this statement and this claim? Some women make sexual sounding grunts when lifting. Men grunt, but it doesn't sound sexual. I can't comprehend why one would put this information online. It just doesn't add up to me. I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think it's necessary. And to be honest, I think it can be perceived as quite sexist. In a world where many women oftentimes feel intimidated or maybe undermined by men, especially in the gym environment or the fitness environment, how is this going to help the problem? Fitness is something that we all have access to in some means. If you have no equipment you can run, you can do bodyweight exercises. There is always something you can do. And the gym is quite an anxiety-provoking place. I've been in the gym for countless years. I still get anxious going to the gym at times, especially if it's a gym I'm not familiar with. And the gym is kind of like my happy place, my safe place. I can only imagine how hard it must be for others. Some women giggle when they're struggling with exercise form or when pushing a set near failure. Men don't do this. Maybe I'm being oversensitive. Maybe I'm analysing this more than it needs to be analysed. The kind of tone of this is very patronising. And again, I don't think it's promoting a very good message, especially when trying to push towards things that need to be addressed like equality, trying to encourage those of all genders into a mutual environment being the gym or any other training facility. That's not helping the problem. It's just frustrating because we're making steps forward and we're trying to do things that actively encourage people to remove gender limitations and come together as humans rather than genders. But then things like this come out, it's just so like, well, can this not be perceived as enhancing the issue? Although a lot of these things don't apply to me, because obviously I am a man, I can empathise, but I can only imagine how difficult things of this nature, inequality issues, must be for those who are experiencing them. And it just makes me sad to see, and it really does frustrate me, to be honest. And unfortunately the video gets worse. I don't like making these types of videos because I'm not trying to badmouth anybody. But again, like I said, this is an issue that needs to be addressed, and this is an issue I feel like it is my duty to address. And I'm going to throw another warning out there. The contents of this video can be quite triggering, so please don't feel pressured to watch it. I don't know whether you feel like you have to watch it because you're supporting me. Honestly, just you being here and subscribing to the channel is more support than I could ever ask for. Please do what's best for you, and if this content upsets you, please don't consume it. You need to prioritise you, your happiness and your health. Part of prioritising your health falls into the realm of prioritising your mental health. You're the most important person here. Remember that. So he's done a few videos with influencers I have covered before. One of those is Lauren Simpson, who is a very well-known athlete, and she produced a video series, I think there's actually a couple of parts to this, in which she trained with Bret in his Glute lab, which is his kind of training facility. There are a few concerns that have popped up. I also want to note here, as you see, the comments are turned off. This video is 2 years old. The comments have only been turned off recently, in the last couple of weeks or so. I have seen a few questions surrounding the appropriateness of this video, and you're going to see why. There's a lot of physical touch involved. At one point he actually says, let me try and find it.
It's not much though. Squeeze like this, what I do. Actually like squeeze the bottom like that. See,
he says he actually squeezes the bottom. Is that appropriate? At the end of the day, I don't know if consent was given. This is merely an opinion based on what I'm seeing. I have no knowledge or no factual evidence of this. Although consent may have been given, as a personal trainer or as a trainer or somebody who's working with people on a one-to-one basis, if you do need to touch them for whatever reason, express consent must be obtained beforehand. Like this could be deemed as inappropriate by many, and it's quite sad to see. Obviously another video that's circulated is one with Krissy Cela, in which she also trained with Bret at his glute lab, as you can see up here. There's a lot of contact around the lumbar region, and it's almost like the hand is maybe creeping a bit low, I would say. Is this level of contact necessary? I don't know, again, maybe I'm being oversensitive, but to me this just doesn't seem right. It doesn't sit well with me. So SoheeFit actually did a podcast in which she speaks about how she did a lot of work on some of Bret's programs that she was never given credit for, and she also claims that he was allegedly quite emotionally abusive in their relationship, and it was a relationship that he never made public. And I'll give credit to a YouTube video which did give me a lot of information surrounding that, which was produced by Solomon Nelson, and there'll also be screenshots taken from that video of a Reddit thread. And this stems beyond obviously just YouTube and kind of goes into elements of his Instagram, unfortunately. And one of the videos I've seen which didn't quite sit right with me was this one. And there are a few things, again, don't know if this is me being oversensitive and maybe analysing much deeper than needs to be, but it's just how he's stood, his kind of whole body language and his positioning, I think is quite inappropriate. As you can see, he's in front of this individual. I don't know why that's necessary when addressing someone's squat form or maybe giving some cues surrounding the squat. Why could this not be done standing behind this individual? To me, again, based on my opinion, based on my observation, strikes me as like a sexual power position. How he's standing, the motions that are occurring through the squat, it strikes me as very inappropriate. It really doesn't sit well with me. There is no need for this man to be standing in front of this woman. He can happily stand behind her, do what needs to be done, especially when you look at things like this in which he's touching her body. That's not really good PT practice. Do you know what I mean? Like, as a trainer, you shouldn't really stand in front of somebody when they're squatting. Unfortunately, I'm not the only one who's raised concerns surrounding Bret's behaviour and his alleged treatment of individuals. Greg Nuckols posted this a while ago. There's also a Reddit thread that very much speaks about observations and opinions based on Bret and his observed behaviours. Like I said, this is not a video I ever thought I was going to make, especially when approaching Bret to kind of give my like review and analytical standpoint on his content. This is very much turned into like a brief segment on his content in which, yeah, sure, his information is pretty solid, but then very much expands far beyond that into a much deeper and much more important issue that needs to be addressed. I felt like this video needed to be made because I feel like this issue needs to be brought to light, and I feel like those who may have been exposed or victims of similar issues to those that I'm mentioning throughout the video deserve to have their voices heard. And as I will state again, these are all allegations. Nothing that I'm saying is based on fact, is merely an opinion. These should be tackled and approached by the relevant authorities. If you watch my content, even if you don't watch my content, I care about you. I don't want harm to come to you. I don't want you to ever feel like you are in a position in which you feel powerless, perhaps, or which you feel inferior or not protected. Gender roles and gender identities aside, I would like to do what I can as a human to try and protect and help other humans. If you have ever been a victim or know anybody who has been a victim of anything mentioned throughout this video, I do just want to say I am so sorry. It shouldn't happen, it should never happen, and it should never have happened to you. I understand in a lot of cases one may try and blame themselves as a means of maybe trying to understand why this happened. Please remember, it was not your fault, it never will be your fault. Oh, you're making me emotional. I don't like people being sad. I don't like people feeling vulnerable. I don't like people feeling that they aren't protected. I just want people to be happy, safe, and well. And so I'll do what I can to promote that message. And again, this video may be seen by none, but it may be seen by some. And hopefully it does help at least one person. If you have unfortunately been a victim of anything that I've covered throughout this video, please have a look at the description below this video in which some resources have been linked, predominantly UK and US resources, as the majority of my audience does reside either within the UK or within the US. So hopefully some of the resources linked below may either help you or somebody you know. And I just wanted to give an additional thanks to those within the TFNL Discord who did help me find those resources. Thank you very much. I appreciate all of you a lot. I don't really need to give a mass conclusion other than, yes, Bret's information surrounding glute development is pretty good. Due to the allegations made and due to the opinion that I have formed, and once again you must form your own opinion, I wouldn't rely on him for information. I would lean more towards individuals such as Lucy Davis Fit, who I'm a big fan of, Hannah Oberg, as I think they're promoting a great message when it comes to women and training. I think they're great advocates for lifting heavy, properly, effectively, and safely. And I think those two individuals especially deserve a lot of love and attention. And having spoken to both a little bit online, it's very clear how much they care for their audience. It's also very clear that they do come across and strike me as kind and genuine people. And I think that's what the fitness industry needs more of. And again, I must reiterate, this video is merely based on my opinions. It is not based on fact whatsoever. And nothing has gone to court and been legally proven. I hope you forgive me for what I'm about to say is I'm not going to do a comment question of the week this week. I just don't feel like it is necessarily appropriate to add that segment to this video. I'm not going to ask for a like goal or anything like that. I just want you to know that you are being heard. I am doing what I can to help you, and I will always do what I can to help you, and I will do what I can to protect you. You have actively chosen to invest your time into my content and into me as a creator, and have therefore joined the TFNL family. I think a big aspect and element of a family dynamic is looking out for one another. I'm not looking at your gender identity, I'm looking at the fact that you're a human and an individual. Therefore, I will do what I can to try and help you. Just know, again, I'm so sorry if this does apply to you. I'm so sorry if any of this content did trigger you or upset you. I really did not mean to, but I feel like it needed to be addressed and my opinion needed to be expressed. But I'm once again going to remind you that no, it's not your fault. Despite how much you may be convincing yourself that it is, you're lying to yourself because it's not. And like I said earlier, some useful resources and links will be in the description down below. Again, I'm sorry that the tone of the video wasn't quite as happy and cheery as it usually is, and it maybe wasn't quite as informative. Again, like I said, I think this is just a very important issue that needs to be addressed. But nonetheless, thank you for tolerating me.